All right, we are ready to open the committee of the whole. It is Thursday, September 18th. And we're all good and live and everything. Okay. We're grateful to be here on the unceded and traditional territory of the Lillooet people. We will call this meeting to order and have someone please approve the agenda. Moved by Director Morton, seconded by Director Hopful. All in favor, any opposed, motion carries. Regional moment. I'm gonna make this brief. I didn't bring slides today, but this is actually just a shortened version of a presentation that I'll be making next week to the Union of BC Municipalities. We are in a housing crisis and have been in this corridor for a very long time. But in the last 3 years, the provincial government has also acknowledged that housing is in a variety of crises around the province. We were ahead of the game in the resort municipality of Whistler back in 1996. The council of the day, having been challenged by a scarcity of housing and a scarcity of employees that could live and work in the community, acknowledged that there was a challenge. They went to Colorado and they visited a couple of resorts in Colorado, the town of Vail, the town of Breckenridge, and others. And they were in the town of Aspen for a day or so. And they looked around and they said, where are all the children? Where do people live? Why are there no families here? How does this community thrive in the absence of people being able to stay and make this place home? Because there's something about a resort that when the people who work, they're pouring your coffee, they're running the chairlifts, whatever the type of resort is, the people that live there are weaving the story of why this place is special. And so when they looked around and they said, no one lives here. In fact, it's very noticeable that nobody lives here. People come in, they stay for the season, they leave, and they take that knowledge and they take that authenticity of that resort mountain experience with them. And so how do we build a community in the town of Whistler that celebrates this place and makes this place sustainable long-term? And so the council of the day came back to Whistler after visiting Aspen and all of these places. They said, we need to build some long-term sustainable housing that will house our workforce. And so they developed a subsidiary, a wholly owned subsidiary of the municipality called the Whistler Housing Authority. And there were members of council and there were members of the community in the chamber, and they were all involved. And they dedicated municipal land to the authority so that housing could be built at a very, very affordable rate and would remain affordable in perpetuity. And some of the challenges with that are, how do you enforce that? How do you ensure that the resale values remain affordable 30 years down the road? What are the benefits to housing people in your community? Again, back to the authenticity and sort of that sustainable community. But one of the challenges was meeting an overwhelming demand and not making any of the housing feel like a ghetto, right? You don't want to have segmented community members, and we have rentals down there and we have ownership up there. And so there's a real blend of ownership and rental and market housing all in the same neighborhoods. And it's really difficult to distinguish between two different owners. And so it's really become a model that the rest of Canada has looked to over the last 30 years as to how do you do this? And what can other communities learn? Because this was very specific to a resort community where customer service and service jobs are generally low paid roles, and so or lower. It's getting better. I think the value of the product that Whistler has become is well understood within the provincial and federal governments. We send roughly $1 billion a year in property taxes and in our GDP to both the provincial and federal governments. So they see the value in supporting our communities, objectives of housing our community in Whistler and within our municipal boundaries, supporting us through BC housing grants, CMHC low interest loans. But one of the biggest things that we needed to do was have a breadth of inventory in the community. So from rentals, small 1 bedrooms, all the way to 3 bedroom, single family homes. And those properties are all restricted with covenants on title that ensures that the rents stay low, that the resale value is at consumer core price index appreciation. So these are nests, they're not nest eggs. These are, and it's really important to maintain the integrity of those covenants on all of these different properties so that they remain employee housing for people that are living and working in our community. And it's something that we have evolved over 30 years. So the covenants have changed as ownership has grown and changed, but it's always been a very thoughtful and measured change to the language around those covenants. Because once they're on the purchase or the rental of those homes, they stay until the change in ownership or the tenants. So Jack had asked me to do this regional moment to share some of the things that we had learned, some of the things that we're learning as this new legislation, Bill 44, 46, and 47 was imposed in the rest of the province and presented a lot of challenges to a lot of communities that had no affordable housing of any kind in a lot of communities. And they really did look at a lot of the programs that we have used in Whistler as a model for how do you blend those market and non-market housing in the same community. We're seeing that with the small scale multi-unit housing legislation has been sort of adapted in a lot of communities to allow for that blend of housing types. What else did I want to say about that? I think the future of Whistler housing is in the last 6 years, we've built over 1,600 new bed units of affordable rental housing. And if you get a chance to come to Whistler and go down to Cheakamus community, the phase 2 development has been, it makes your head spin at how quickly those buildings have come out of the ground. We have not pressed pause once. We have continued to move the cranes and the labor from one lot to the next, to the next, to the next. And so we started in 2022 with lot 1A, then 1B, then we were in 2A, 2B, and that was roughly 400 units between those four. We're now into lot 5, another 105 units. We're going into lot 3 next. I think we're already there. And that's another 121 units. And that's a mix of apartments, townhouses, and like 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. So there's a tremendous, the pace is unbelievable. We have some drone footage that I was going to bring, but you'll see it next week at UBCM. But of just the growth of that second phase of Cheakamus. And Cheakamus Community Forest is the sort of surrounding area of the Cheakamus community. So we've had the Cheakamus Community Forest. It's a partnership between the RMOW, Lillooet Nation and Squamish Nation. And it's been a very thoughtful integration into that forest so that we're not disturbing too much of the forest, but we're adding this beautiful place to call home and raise your children right there in the forest, which is pretty great. So that is the regional moment of Whistler. Go ahead.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Do you have commercial development down at the same time?
That's a great question. There hasn't been a lot, which poses challenges for the neighborhood because now we have over 1,000 people living in that area and no grocery store. There's a little convenience store, there's daycare, but we haven't added enough commercial space to help it be a walkable community. I mean, it's still fairly walkable. We've got great transit down there, but that is the next sort of nut to crack down there. Yeah.
When are you showing it? At UCM? What day?
Oh, Monday.
Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a criticism I hear sometimes is that, as you said, it's a nest, not a nest egg. Is that because of that, you can't move through. But is that a valid, is the idea with the number of units you're making, is the idea to move people through out into the just full market? Or is it, no, it's actually fine for people to stay in the system and that's actually what we want and that's great. Can you speak a little to that?
Yeah, so moving through the inventory, one of the examples is a family bought a 1-bedroom place, or a couple bought a 1-bedroom place, and then they have a child or two, and then they need to move into a 2-bedroom. What's the mechanism to moving them into a larger unit? Or the family that had the 3-bedroom single family, the kids have gone off to school, and now the parents don't need the 3-bedroom place. And we've got this family over here that would love a 3-bedroom place. How do we move them through? Those challenges are still very real, and it's not something we figured out. The nest, not nest egg, is the vehicle for savings, right? The whole world believes in, real estate as being your sort of largest single asset. This is not your asset that you're going to retire on because you're not building the same equity that anyone else is anywhere else. So you have to put your money away in other ways. The reason for those covenants is to keep those properties affordable. One of the challenges is we have 2-bedroom condos that the resale value on them right now is about $230,000. $230,000 to own a 2-bedroom place in Whistler is unheard of. And yet you're buying it at $230,000, and 10 years from now, you might be able to sell it for $250,000. So it keeps it really affordable, actually falsely affordable and dangerously low to a point where people will never sell. Why would you ever sell that? But the covenants that we have around occupancy and you have to live in it, you have to work in it. Those are hopefully incentives for people to sell if you're no longer planning on working here, or if you're gonna leave the community, you have to sell. So, yeah, it's tricky, and we're open to evolving it further. So anyhow, that's my regional moment. Okay.
So now I don't have to come on Monday.
That's right. Thank you. Okay.
They're great sessions that you can attend.
Yeah, there are many good things at UBCM.
Yeah, I'm sitting next to you.
Okay, with that, do you want a motion to receive? No. Okay. Could I ask that someone please move that we close this committee of the whole to the public? Moved by Director Morton, second by Director Herford. All in favor, any opposed?